So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So first off, I just wanna, welcome to any of the future watchers of this to our SGA presidential debate. We have Vedant and Shanna here to talk to us about their platforms and why they consider themselves ready for such a position. And we have Elise and Fabrizio as our panelists. Again, I want to thank Ms. Ennis for allowing the Devil's Advocate to host this. And so let's go ahead and get started. So first, Vedant, would you like to give us a quick 15-second intro about yourself and your platform? And then Shauna, you can do the same.
Okay, so my name is Garg. I'm running for SGA president, and my platform focuses on representing everyone in the entire school. And I've been involved in class office for the last 3 years as class vice president, which is why I think I'm capable of being SGA president this year.
Do I go?
Yeah, you can go, Shanna.
Okay, my name is Shanna Lynn. I'm the current SGA secretary, so I have experience on SGA, and my main goal is just like continuing all the things we have started this year and implementing new ideas that we had that we couldn't get through.
Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get started. Just a quick little run through. You will each get about 30 seconds to answer the questions because now we have multiple people on and I have this very lovely little bell to ding you in case you go over. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and get started. So Fabrizio, if you want, you can ask the first question and address who you would like to ask it to.
The first question I have is not for a specific candidate. You guys can both take a crack at it. Why are you running for president? What's the reason, other than just popularity?
Well, for me, the reason would be I've had many ideas in the last 30 years which I wanted to implement, but I realized that it was more of an SGA job rather than a class office job. So I believe that running for SGA president, I can better the school and implement these ideas to create a better stance.
So this year, being on SGA, a lot of the ideas we had, I personally had a lot of influence on, and I was kind of encouraged by the graduating officers to run for president because I took such a strong control on our ideas, and they thought they just encouraged me and told me that I would be good as a president.
Elise, you can go ahead and ask the next question. You guys can go back and forth.
Okay. This isn't for anyone in particular, too. Who has been your role model for this position? Who have you looked up to when going into this?
Well, Sean.
You want to go?
Okay. For me, my role model is actually Gokul Madrigal, my president for 2 years, and he's my best friend. And I look up to him because he lost the election last year, and he still came to every single meeting and helped out with the pep rallies and every activity we had. And that's really what a leader is to me. That's someone who can help regardless of whether they win or not. And that's someone who I aspire to be.
Yeah. Kind of the same for me, Gokul, members of our class as well as alumni from Stan who just inspire us or inspire me personally to get involved in our school and just take charge and things. Reed Miller, Alvin Gunyon, just great people who have inspired me.
Is there anyone outside of Stan, any people better? I mean, obviously it's a good thing. It's not saying it's a bad thing to look up to people at Stan, but is there anyone, any celebrities or politicians or athletes that you look up to?
I think is the word Fabrizio is looking for.
Well, I'm involved in a program called Youth in Government, which actually Reed encouraged me to do, but I've gotten to know a lot of presiding officers, our new youth governor, our old youth governor, just people who are involved in trying to make a change through government associations, and it's just really inspiring to see people have so much so much motivation to like get involved. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've been like looking into like politics and all. I realized like that the people up at the top, the government, with the people with authority, like the things they do really affect the people. And I believe that those people can make real changes that benefit the student body in our case. So I want to be someone like that.
All right. How do you guys think you are qualified for this position?
Well, I've been class vice president the last 3 years, and in those last 3 years, we've organized a field trip. We've had 2 huge volunteer events, and we've also organized a prom that unfortunately did not happen. So I believe that like those qualifications can help me in SGA with winter formal, homecoming, and planning big things like the pep rallies and other events.
For me, like I mentioned, I've served like a year on SGA, so I know like all the things that we have to get done, all the things that we need to like talk about, and I know like all the things that we've already started. And I have experience leading a group of officers as Fashion Club president, so like I know how to, you know, just work with our sponsors and admin, get whatever needs to get done.
You guys both talked about your experience and how that makes you qualified to be the next SGA president. But can you guys point to any specific, I know, Vedant, you kind of already went into this, but can you guys point to any specific accomplishments that you guys think things you're able to get done? Vedant, in your case, as 3 years of class vice president, and Shanna, in your case, as Fashion Club president and SGA secretary, like specific things, not just, you know, the norm that normally happens, not just your job responsibilities in those positions, but specific things that you push for and you said, I want to get this done, new things that you were able to carry out. Is there anything specifically you can point to in your time there?
Yeah, definitely. Like on SGA, a lot of my ideas I have been working on. I've been working closely with Kreider, coming up with like new designs for merch and stuff. I helped like get the Kilwins catering for homecoming, which was a new thing that we did. I found a venue for our winter formal that we had some issues with, but like we know how to work them out. So yeah.
In class office, we've actually created like a really good relationship with Relay for Life. They work with the American Cancer Society, and we've had 2 huge events. Stanton's actually one of their biggest teams that participates now, and we've raised, I think, over $4,000 in the last 3 years for their charity for cancer. So I believe that's a big organization thing that we've done in the last 3 years.
All right. How do you guys plan on improving the school with your positions?
I plan on improving the school by, like, my ideas focus on representing different groups at Stanton that I feel like are underrepresented. Like, I want to have a used book drive where people can donate used AP, summer reading, and like SAT books for volunteer hours. I also want to have other things like a job fair where employers can bring their opportunities and their internships to Stanton. I also want to have I want more student participation in different ideas, so like polls for Spirit Days, as well as a esports competition and tournament against Paxton.
Yeah, similar to Vedant, I just want to like be able to represent the whole student body more. I feel like I'm well involved in our school. I participate in clubs, sports, other programs, and I feel like I know a lot of things that like our student body strives for, and just being able to like recognize everyone besides like just, you know, captains at rallies, like math Olympians, science Olympians, stuff like that. Like just being able to spread like our reach on everyone rather just than our select group now.
You guys both mentioned that you want to represent the students better. You guys want to represent people who are underrepresented, to use Vedant's words. Who do you currently, what students do you currently think are underrepresented or not well represented?
Well, I've been in talks with the esports, the club that we have at Stanton, and they've told me that nothing has been done for them in SGA, and they really want some SGA to do something for them, as well as Quizbowl. Quizbowl reached out to me recently, and they were saying how they don't have like the power and authority to hold like Quizbowl competitions at Stanton, but they think that SGA could hold those things. So I believe I want to use SGA's power to hold like tournaments and events for these different clubs to represent them.
Yeah, I've had people come up to me talking about like specific like details that they've had issues with. Like, for example, someone in band came up to me and was wondering about like if we could extend the time for their performance during pep rallies, if we can like get them to, you know, have some more time to do their performance rather than a whole like 2-minute segment on something that can be shortened. And like just like we try our very best to include a lot of people, especially like in Live on 5. We do well in recognizing people, but we also only kind of just stick to like sports and stuff like that. And I want to be able to reach out like beyond physical activity.
How do you plan on uniting the classes given the class rivalries that are already taking place?
One of our main ideas this year actually was being able to have the classes team up at our last pep rally, have like the seniors work with the freshmen, juniors with the sophomores, just to show more school unity rather than class unity at pep rallies, which is like it's not a bad thing because that is what the point of pep rallies are, but we also like don't want to encourage division in our school, so we wanted to do that. And just like having upperclassmen reach out to underclassmen, and like things like that.
Yeah, I think communication is key in this, and I want to hold meetings between the SGA officers and the class officers. It's like when we can all collaborate. Like we had a meeting I think 2 years ago, sophomore class office, where we all were in one meeting, and in that meeting we got a lot done. We could bounce ideas off each other. We thought of many new ideas for the future, and I think that's the best way to unite the classes.
I had a question specifically for Shanna, just following up on what she just said. Do you think you mentioned potentially having the freshmen work with the seniors and the juniors work with the sophomores to promote class or school unity rather than class unity? Do you think this would be a popular idea? Do you think this would go over well with the students? I mean, don't you think that would meet some significant pushback? I mean, the pep rally is kind of a long-standing tradition. What do you think about that?
I don't think like it wouldn't cut into like the actual meaning of pep rallies, like having the classes, you know, just showing class spirit. We were actually thinking of doing it in Dove Olympics, which we brought back this year. Like just mini games where the seniors work with freshmen, sophomores with juniors, things like that, just to show school unity. Like it doesn't have to be anything big.
What specific plans do you guys plan on implementing while you're president?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have the used book drive idea. I also want to have a job fair as well as an esports tournament, including one against Paxton during Paxton Hate Week. And these are really big ideas to represent the school as well. I want to continue some things like John Wright started the voter registration day. So if we can physically go back to school, I want to hold a bigger voter registration day so more people can sign up to vote for the November primary election.
Yeah, I just want to improve like a lot of things that we did this year. Obviously, like because the senior class is graduating, Mental Health Week is going to be put on SGA with Psych Honor Society, which I think is really helpful since they do definitely have like the resources to vamp up Mental Health Week. I want to like increase communication. I feel like we've done well this year. Just reaching out to people on social media every once in a while, asking like, do you like this idea? Do you not? Like, how are you guys doing? We stopped doing town hall meetings this year because there weren't like people showing up, but I definitely like want to find a different way to get people who aren't on social media to reach out. I know someone running for SGA, I think her name's Libby, wants to do like the little table thing outside of the 700 building, which I think is a great idea. For having people like during lunch periods or after school, before school, come up to us and just let us know like what they'd like to see.
Vedant, if I could ask you a question about your platform, you talked about a job fair day, and that's an idea that I don't think I've heard before with class elections. But how do you plan on implementing that? Have you talked to any specific businesses or business owners, or is that just right now in the idea phase? Do you have any concrete progress on that, or is that just
Yeah,
an
no,
idea?
I was talking to Gokul, and his employer actually wants like more people with like for videography business. And we have a lot of talented individuals at our Stanton, and we've reached out to a few people, and they're like independent employers that need people to do certain things, as well as even bringing in people from like hospitals, like the head of Mayo Spark, who can like we have so many people involved in science and like the medical like section. So like I thought we could bring in people from Mayo or St. Vincent's, and they could present their programs and internships to students.
I have a question for both. Or Krista, do you want to go? You can go ahead if you wanted to.
I'm just trying to, I might pop in every now and then. Usually I'm kind of like the watcher, but I figured I might share a little bit. For both of you, as SGA president, you are supposed to be a representative figure for the entire school. However, you both belong to the class of 2021. So how do you plan to set aside your bias for your class in order to make an objective decision for the entire school?
Well, I've been on SGA, so like my goals haven't been limited to our class. I definitely like enjoyed reaching out to the underclassmen. I know that like whenever they had questions, they definitely like weren't afraid to reach out to me and ask them for help. I have a lot of underclassmen friends actually, and just being in fashion club has allowed me to reach out to people like multi-sports, like things like that. Like getting involved in the school has allowed me to reach out with like to other people in other classes and just like in other areas.
I think that communication with all the underclassmen officers would really help me make a decision that's not biased. As well as personally, I would prioritize the underclassmen because I know for a fact that Gokul has the seniors covered. So if I prioritize the underclassmen, especially the freshman officers, coming in freshman year is really hard. Like you don't know what you're doing as an officer. So like I'd want to really communicate with underclassmen officers to make the best decision for the school as a whole.
I have a question for both of you. In the past, we've watched it for 3 years now, and it's been going on for a while. But a lot of SGA presidents and class officers will come in and they'll promise to do things. They'll propose these sweeping proposals. But then the reality is when they get into office, they have a really hard time getting it done. And part of that's just the fact that you're not a king. You're not, an actual president where you can just snap your fingers or executive order to get something done. And it's pretty hard to accomplish a lot of the things you propose. So why should voters think that this year is going to be anything different? When you make these proposals, what would you say to reassure them that you're actually going to get these things done? They're not just going to be unkept promises.
I would say to look at my past record in class office. I went for pep rallies, I planned events, and prom itself. All the ideas I have for this year are also very practical. They don't require many funds. It's really just the SGA coming together, making plans, communicating with admin and sponsors, and implementing those plans. So I think everything I have on my platform is realistic and achievable.
Definitely. Like this year, I've firsthand experienced like all the things that we had to do to be able to get our ideas pushed through. It's definitely been like a lot of dedication and communication that's needed with the officers and sponsors and administration. I found it necessary to like reach out to them multiple times, even like go up to them during schools, in between classes, during lunch, to like just remind them about things. But like, yeah, a lot of my ideas too aren't like depending on a lot of things. They're just like continuing what we have started this year, and like with that experience and knowledge, like I definitely can like get those through.
All right, I have a question for Shanna. Since you were on since you were the SGA secretary this year, being in that position, did that teach you anything new?
Definitely. Like, going into SGA, I had leadership experience, but I didn't have any knowledge on what exactly SGA did, like in detail. Like, obviously, I knew we had to like plan dances, plan pep rallies to some extent, but I didn't know like what exactly needed to be done. And that's how it was for like all 5 of us. So going in without any exact knowledge was kind of like hindering in our ability to get our ideas pushed through and things like that. We had to like learn like how to communicate with our sponsors. We had to figure out like where everything in our school was, and it definitely took time for us to like figure those things out, which could also like impact the like how we get things done.
Vedant, I have a question for you. What advantage or qualities do you believe that you have over your opposing candidate?
Well, I believe that I have experienced a lot, like, of different things, like ranging from volunteer opportunities all the way to prom. And I believe like the various experience opportunities I've had will help me in SGA if I'm elected. I also believe I have a very strong platform that can help me because I have strict ideas that I want to get done that I really think are achievable.
I have a question for both of you. Both of you in your platforms mentioned that you guys want to change the winter formal location, and there seems to be consensus on that. So what's wrong with the current location for winter formal, and what new location do you propose? Where do you want to have winter formal?
Well, I personally think that there's nothing wrong with our current location. I know that like there's a lot of controversy on it because we've kept it like the same location for the past few years. I know like for administration and our sponsors, it's a really easy venue because they're just so easy to work with. But I had looked into like a lot of other venues this year because many of our like members of the student body were complaining about it. So I definitely like found venues that we were really interested in. One of them, I remember like we were actually trying to like change our location to this venue. It was the Ramona Pavilion Ballroom on West Side, which is right off the interstate, so it's easy to access. It's close to school, but our main issues were just like handling security because we didn't know what that was going to look like this year because they were hiring new staff members and we weren't sure on like how that was going to work out. So we just had to like cut that idea out for this year because they weren't sure on it. So that like could definitely be something that we look into this coming year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like most people don't like the venue for some reason. And I think it's just because they want something new this year. And for prom, we started contacting venues around 14 months before the actual date of prom. So we had a bunch of venues in mind. There are many country clubs, TIA. This year is going to be at the Yacht Club. So I believe we could look into one of the cheaper options of those and actually go along with them because they all seem to work pretty well.
All right. How will both of you handle like different decisions and different controversies that might come up during your presidency?
Well, I'm always open to compromise. I think that communication between two parties is like essential. And I believe that I would do anything that the people want. If my decision is against what the people want, then I'm in the wrong. The people vote for me, so I think that like my decision should be reflected in their choices.
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm very open-minded and I think I'm very approachable. Obviously, if like some issues come up like within the officers on deciding like on certain things, I would just open it up to the student body, poll it on Instagram, see like majority, just like things like that. Like definitely um, allowing like our student body to get involved.
For both of you, what would you consider your leadership styles, especially given that you both have many varying experiences as you've presented in leadership positions? So from those, what would you consider your leadership style?
Well, my leadership style would be to first get input from the student body, and then I would discuss all of that input with the other class officers. And through that, I think we would pick the beneficial option, and we would implement that one.
Yeah, I'm very like open-minded and laid back. I'm like definitely I work well with other people, so um like I can put my foot down at times to get things done, but also like I wouldn't keep all the decisions up to me. I think working with like other officers, the other classes, the student body is very important and representing the whole school. So
I had a question for Vedant specifically. In your application, you wrote that you've quote noticed many problems with the way SGA functions and you want to fix it. Can you elaborate on that? What problems have you seen and what do you propose to do to fix them? Is there some kind of structural reform within SGA, or could you speak to that?
Well, it's not really much of a structural reform. I just saw that people weren't satisfied with a lot of things. Like, and this year, I thought that the spirit days, I saw a lot of people complaining about the spirit days, that they were all repeated. So I believe we could change that through more polling and actually like have the students suggest what they want, as well as communication. I noticed a lot of times that I was misinformed about many things, and I believe it's SGA's job to send out like the schedules like as soon as they get them. Like I noticed I was getting the schedules from other people instead of student government. I'm sure it's not student government's fault, but I think that like if as SGA president, I could like make the reach to like devil's advocate to get the schedules earlier and send these out, and just so everyone's informed about everything that's going on.
you're muted.
Please.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. This is for both of you. If you get elected, what is your envisioned time like? Like what and when will you tackle the different issues that you have mentioned?
Honestly, like the second are like we're announced like presidents, whichever one of it, whichever one of it is. I like plan on reaching out to the other officers, other classes, congratulating them, and then like as soon as possible setting up like a digital like call, FaceTime, something just to collaborate like our ideas and see what needs to get done. Obviously, like I already have contact with the sponsors, some administration. Yeah, like as soon as possible.
Yeah, if I'm elected, I would start to prioritize the ideas that need to be done first. So I would first actually look into the winter formal venues since that needs to be done in advance. And then I would make an agenda for the rest of the year and get in contact with the other officers as well as SGA officers. So we can really plan for the rest of the year and get a lot of things approved before the year starts. So it'll be easier and smoother in the year.
My next question specifically for Shanna. In your application, you wrote that you want to work on some of the things that SGA wasn't able to get to this year. And one of those things you mentioned was better hygiene for the bathrooms. How specifically do you plan to improve hygiene in the bathrooms, considering the power that you have as SGA president?
I definitely don't think it's like a difficult thing. I've noticed like a lot of people complaining about like the smell of the bathrooms, how it's kept, and I think it'd be very simple to just like, you know, set some money aside for like air fresheners, see like what we can do about toilet paper, paper towels, like things like that, just to keep our bathrooms nice.
Would those, if I could follow up on that, would those funds be would those funds be collected from the class? Would that be like a fund where everyone in the where the student body contributes, or how would you get when you say set aside funds?
It definitely come from SGA, our SGA funds. We have like money set aside for things like that involve like the whole school. Like for example, we've accumulated a lot of money over the past few years for our electronic water dispenser things, and we definitely still have money for like other things that we could do.
How do you both plan to implement? How do you plan to implement the Ubuntu philosophies into your presidency?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not happening it right now. But how do you guys both plan to implement the Ubuntu philosophy into your presidency if you do win?
Implement our philosophy.
What philosophy?
I think she said the Ubuntu philosophy. How do you plan to implement the Ubuntu philosophy into your presidency?
Thank you.
Okay. So to implement the Ubuntu philosophy, I myself would just open kindness to everyone, and anyone can approach me and talk to me about whatever they want. I don't want to be seen as like an SGA president, but rather just a normal student who anyone can talk to, regardless of what grade they're in or who they are. I just want to be a friendly and approachable person.
Yeah, definitely the same. I try to make myself as approachable as possible. I love it like when people come up to me and have like commentary or questions. I love helping people, and I try my best to like let people know that they can always reach out to me. And same as Vedant, like I don't want to be seen as like the president of this whole school. Like I want to represent the whole school. And so like I don't want it to I don't want to like seem intimidating to people.
If I could follow up on what you guys both said there, and this question is for both of you. But I know specifically in your campaigning, Shanna, you talked about how the SGA president is the face of the school, and but you also both just mentioned that you want to be approachable and you don't want to be, you want to be you don't want to be, you want to be approachable. So how do you balance being approachable, just another student, with also being the face of the school? And also, since you are the face of the school, what about your personal character would make you a good face of the school?
Well, I mean, like for me personally, I think involvement is really important. I'm like I mentioned, I'm involved in like a lot of activities that our school does, and like having that experience in a range of extracurriculars has allowed me to just like firsthand experience like all the things that our school has to offer, and in that like making bonds with people like throughout all the classes, throughout like all areas, whether it be like athletics, dance, music, like things like that. And personal characteristics, I think I'm pretty friendly, and I'm very easy, like it's very easy for me to work well with other people and just like communicate with others. So if anyone like wants to approach me, they definitely can.
Yeah, I think it's really important to show that like I really care about Stanton. Stanton's like a second home to me, and I think that I should be seen that like whoever was SGA president should really care and put their everything into SGA presidency, and not only that, but put everything into being friends with everyone, their academics, all the extracurriculars they do. So like I really think that it's important for SGA president to be someone who just cares about Stanton as a whole.
All right, this is a question for Vedant specifically. So since you served as the 2021 vice president for 3 years now, what specifically have you accomplished during that time?
Well, freshman and sophomore year, and including junior year, we did the American Cancer Society Relay for Life. That was a huge volunteer program for us. We also successfully did the Universal trip, as well as we won the last 4 pep rallies. After losing the first few, we got it all together. We united our class, and we ended up winning the last 4. And I believe I want to continue a lot of these things, especially American Cancer Society. They really want to work with us. I want to expand that to the entire school, so we can raise even more funds for cancer patients.
Um, I had a question for both of you. So Gokul Matathil is the kind of the presumptive class president. He's running unopposed. And so I know Vedant, you've talked about how you have a close personal relationship with him, and you're his friend. But both of you, regardless of who wins, are going to have to work closely with him. There's always been that cooperation between the senior class president and the SGA president. How well do you think you'll be able to work with Gokul, and how important is that relationship to get things done?
Definitely, like extremely well. Gokul is very hardworking, determined, motivated. I think it'd be very easy for us to reach out to him. He's very easy to communicate with, and just like get things done, talk about things, set up meetings if we need to, like things like that. I don't think it'd be hard to work well with him.
I think it's important as well that SGA president works with the senior class president. And I've been working with Gokul like my entire life. He's like a brother to me. So like I really think that me and him can work really well together. We've accomplished a lot. Even when he wasn't president, we still accomplished a lot. That was when we won our first pep rally. And I believe we can continue that tradition next year.
He may not be my brother, but we're still pretty tight.
I have a question specifically for Vedant. You talked about how you want to do a voter registration day, and obviously there is an election coming up. But why is a voter registration day important? And some people say, we just have one. Why is it important that we do another voter registration day?
Well, like statistically, the youth actually don't vote in a lot of elections, especially the presidential election. So I think it's really important that we try to get as many people as possible to get out there and vote. This vote determines a lot for our future, for like college, for every one of us. So I really think it's important that we get the whole school to come together and try to vote.
Shanna, just a quick question for you. How do you plan to address whether it be criticisms or disagreements among the entire student body? Because obviously as an SGA president, you cannot please everybody, and some things it's like, some things are just either too much to do or it's just like not capable of happening. So how do you plan to handle criticism or try to resolve disagreements among all of the classes?
Actually, I think like the classes do well in understanding like what we can and can't do, but obviously like you said, we can't please everyone, and that's definitely something that we struggled with this year, trying to like implement things that everyone wants to get done. But obviously there's going to be some setbacks with how we can do things because of like the guidelines set by administration, how like our sponsors work with us. Obviously, like if they're not into an idea, then it would pretty much be impossible for us to actually enforce something if like admin strictly says no. So obviously like making that a big priority, just like being able to let people know that we're trying our best to do what they want, but there are times when we cannot do that.
Okay, I also have a question for Shanna. So in your application, you mentioned that being the SGA president requires a certain level of professionalism. So how do you plan on showing your professionalism to the Stanton students and in your position?
Probably just being like as level-headed as possible. I don't want to like seem like someone who isn't professional. I don't want like other schools to look at our school as something other than what it actually is, just because if I'm president like and I'm the face of the school, then I'm being like unprofessional or saying things that I'm not supposed to be saying. So just like knowing my place, because obviously with this role comes like a lot of responsibility, and just understanding like what I can and can't do.
I do think that this pretty much wraps up our SGA presidential debate. So both of you, if you would like to just take a quick minute to, give your a final appeal to these student voters, and if there's anything that maybe you haven't gotten to share yet that you would like to, please do so now. So whichever one of you want to go first.
Okay. Well, first off, if you're a student voter, I'd really like you guys to read both of our platforms and pick the candidate that you think will represent the school the best. However, I believe that you guys should vote for me. I want to bring Stanton the best opportunities possible, and I want to create change for the better. And a vote for me is a vote for a better future at Stanton.
Definitely. So I just want to thank you guys for listening to this whole debate. If you did, I just want to let you guys know that I'd be very, very honored to be your president, and that I just want to be able to represent our school. I feel like my involvement in activities has allowed me to be well-rounded, and I know our way around the school and my way around like how SGA works. So I feel like I'd be the best candidate. Love you, Vedant.
Okay, well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to the students about what your plans are and what you hope to bring if you do become SGA president. I'd also like to thank Elise and Fabricio for being our panelists today, and also to Ms. Ennis again for allowing us to have this debate given our socially distanced circumstances. And yeah, voters, make sure you pick the candidate that you feel will be best for this position. And we hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Ms. Ennis.